Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for making this little group a priority in your lives, as is evidenced by the fact that you're actually here this evening. That makes me feel touched and incredibly grateful and terrifically lucky. It is not every day that you get to see some of your old friends, some of your new friends, and everybody is linked by one important thing, which is the Dharma. And as you know, because I always say it every week, the Dharma is the most important thing in the world. So I feel great and I feel grateful. I even see Anne is here. Thank you, Anne, for coming. That is very wonderful. I thought I would let's start in the normal way, because that's what's most important. And this is a Dharma group after all. So please relax in this very instant, recognizing to the best of your ability the innate primordial nature of your own mind. It's that's the foundation. It's that's the root. It's that's the goal. And it's that's the path. We're so lucky to even know that. So I say, welcome, everybody. So happy to have you here. So grateful that we made it. 1,000 times we've met. It's hard to believe, but it's actually true. And it's my incredibly great pleasure to be here tonight with all of you so that we can celebrate a little bit that. So since we are a Dharma group, then let's take refuge. And what are we doing? We're taking refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha, and the Guru, because we're Vajrayanists. So for our special guests, please forgive me for going on for a few minutes, but it's good to put it in the correct context. When we take refuge outwardly to the Buddha, but also inwardly to the Buddha nature, which is what the Buddha actualized. And that's what made Buddhism happen. That's what made the Buddha. And that's what will make all of us Buddhas too. So thinking like that, think or say, I take refuge in the Buddha. And as usual, when you take refuge or make aspirations, then first you say it or think it, you do the aspiration, the prayer, whatever it is. And then secondly, you relax, you rest in your nature, because that's what the real refuge is. We also take refuge in the Dharma. That's the collection of practices. That's the path. It's the road that we're all on to reach what we have never, ever lost and never, ever left, which is our own original nature, which is so awesome. So thinking like that and knowing that we're going to take refuge in the path, in the techniques and the methods, and we're not going to take refuge in our ordinary ridiculousness, then we think or say, I take refuge in the Dharma. Our community growing all the time. In fact, we really have been growing, which is very beautiful. And many of you are here today, and I'm so grateful that you could be. That's the Sangha. And it's not just this Sangha. In fact, it's all the Buddhist Sanghas. And it's not just all the Buddhist Sanghas. It's everybody on a spiritual path. And it's not just people on a spiritual path. It's in fact all beings. We are all on the same side of the table because we all want the same thing, which is freedom, happiness, liberation. And so in that way, think, I take refuge in the Sangha. And what distinguishes in one way the Vajrayana path is our reliance on the absolute nature of the Guru. Not just our own attempts, and not just seeing the teacher as a friend who's guiding us, but as the Buddha in person, which is easy to do. And we have amazing lamas like Adzom Pelo Rinpoche, who is the whole reason that this meeting is taking place. If it hadn't been for Adzom Rinpoche, then we wouldn't be here today, because I would have no reason to have done this. In fact, I tried my hardest to get out of it. But before I tell that story, which I thought I would share with you, It's important to find our connection with the guru. So whoever you see as the guru, for me, it's Adzam Rinpoche. Think Lama Keno, Lama Keno, and Lama Keno. And wherever the guru happens to be, guru turns toward you and comes to you. He or she cannot resist and arrives above your head. Lama Keno, Lama Keno. And that causes the top of your head to open up, the Lama to shrink down and sink down into the ultimate comfortable couch in the center of your heart. Lama Keno, unify yourself with the Guru's mind. Lama Keno, Lama Keno. Lama Keno, the Guru grows to be the same size as you, and you fade out, and it's only the Guru. Lama Keno. Awesome. But it's not enough just to take refuge. It's not even enough just to take refuge in the Guru. We have to remember our purpose. And our purpose, even though we're having a little celebration tonight to celebrate our 20 years, our purpose is unchanging, right? And that is to save all beings. It is to attain enlightenment for the benefit of everyone. Not just humans, but also animals and insects and beings in other dimensions. And all of those beings, they want the exact same thing. So they really are brothers and sisters. And in the Vajrayana, of course, we see them not only as our brothers and sisters, but as our own parents, because we've been cycling through this round of birth and death for so long that it is said that all beings were once our mothers. And in the same way that we love our mothers, then we have to love all beings, and we have to vow and return to our vow daily and hourly sometimes to save all those beings. And how are we going to save them? By attaining enlightenment first and foremost. And that's the whole purpose of Dharma. So knowing that, make up your mind and think, I am going to practice for the good of all beings until everyone is liberated. That's very important, as you know, all you budding bodhisattvas, and some of you might be real live bodhisattvas, which is pretty cool. And finally, let's make up our minds. We're going to make progress tonight. We're going to feel more enthused. We're going to feel more confident about the path we're on. We're going to feel more excited about our practice. I was just today reading something from one of my teachers, Lama Wangdu, who's 88 this year and still kicking butt. And he said, when you wake up, you should imagine that the dakas and dakinis are playing the bells and drums, and that wakes you up, and you feel very excited about practice. I thought that was very, very funny that he said it that way, and that's how we should look at it. Hey, we woke up in the morning and we got another opportunity to recognize who we really are and to bring that forth and act from that place to benefit everyone. What a cool idea, right? Pretty awesome. So make up your mind right now. I'm going to make progress tonight, right on this very seat. Very good. Those are the preliminaries. And because we should never do Dharma practice without clearing out the stale breath, let's do that too, just for fun. Put your hands like this. And just do this yogic method. And if you're new to our group or just a special guest, then just do it however you like. Ready? Awesome. Now, here we are. We're ready. All of you are here, and I'm so grateful to have you. I'm just taking a quick look and saying, hello, everybody. So nice to see all of you. We've got some special guests tonight, and it is so much my pleasure to welcome them. And they have agreed to give a little few minutes of talking and maybe even answer one or two questions if you have any. And since ladies should always be first, Anne Klein is here with us. This is not just Anne Klein. This is Professor Anne Klein. And it's not just Professor Anne Klein. It's Lama Professor, Ultimate Guru, Dakini Anne Klein, who is here to visit with us. And since I said I would say the story of how this little silly group started, I will do that because Anne was personally present. And actually, it's even earlier than that, because I was in this very house when I used to have a landline. Remember those? And the phone rang one evening and I picked it up and it was Anne, who I had never met before. I was kind of like, oh, wow, I can't believe you're calling. And she said, hey, I'm flying into Denver when Unzum Rinpoche is flying in. This was in 2000. I think it was 2000. And could you meet us at the airport, because his flight gets in a little before mine does, and he won't know exactly where to go and stuff. I said, of course, that would be my pleasure. And I had heard about Rinpoche from a few friends, especially from Erik Drew, who's also here with us. And so I started to feel very excited, and I went to the airport and I met Rinpoche at the gate. That was before 9/11, when you could still go to the gate. And then Anne showed up, and we got to connect. And he was here to go and perform a retreat down at Taramandala in Pagosa Springs. And I wasn't able to go to the whole thing, but I just on a whim said, Rinpoche, would it be okay if I came down so I could receive your guidance of my mind, your cemetery? And he said, you have to come. You have to come. I was like, okay. So I went. And I did go. And that's a very amazing story that I'll save for another time. But Anne very kindly translated at that time. And I made such an incredibly strong connection with Rinpoche. He gave me a new name, and all kinds of crazy stuff happened. It was really quite moving. It was a very powerful moment for me. And I also got to connect with Anne, and we've been kind of friends ever since then. And I'm so grateful that she was willing to make time in her very busy schedule to be here. She's not just a professor at Rice University, but she also leads the Dawn Mountain Sangha and is constantly in retreat if she's not performing activities for the benefit of all beings. She's like quite an amazing woman. So it's special that she's here. So a few years after I originally met Rinpoche, I had a little interview, because one of the very most amazing features of Rinpoche's way of sharing the Dharma is that he tries to meet with every single person individually at every retreat, which is unique, I think. So I had my little meeting, and at the end of my meeting, I left, and as I was shutting the door, or ushering in the next person, who happened to be Tom Nelson, actually, who's also here, and said, hold on a second, Rinpoche has to ask you something. So I went back in and I said, yes. And he said, you're from Denver, right? Which he pronounces, in its true pronunciation, Denba. And I said, oh yeah, I'm from Denver. He said, I think you should start a center there. And I was like, Rinpoche, that's a terrible idea. I have no qualifications. I'm not prepared to do that. And I put my hands together and I said, Rinpoche, please don't ask me to do that. And Anne translated that. And then Rinpoche laughed, and Anne laughed and said, Rinpoche is not asking. I thought that was a very excellent thing. I think about it all the time. And that was what led to this. So out of incredible gratitude, I have followed Rinpoche's request to hold this little group together. And it's been very good and very fun. So since Anne is here, I will turn the camera over to her, and we can hear what she would like to say. Thank you so much, Anne, for being here. I know you're busy, and I really appreciate it. Can't hear you.
Yeah, it's lovely to reminisce and go back to that day. I was so worried. Would you get there in time? As we had never met, I didn't know you.
Yeah.
Would it work? Rinpoche needs, and it was such a tremendous relief to see you were there with your full energy, ready to carry everything everywhere it needed to go. And, you were a tremendous help, actually. And then, of course, gradually to get to know you. And now I'd forgotten many of the details that you mentioned right now. But when you bring it forward, I do remember saying, he's not asking. Mm. Somehow I felt that by then, I had I don't know, incorporated enough of Rinpoche's way of doing things, because I was usually translating these one-on-ones.
Mm.
I guess I felt maybe presumptuously authorized to interpret Rinpoche, which actually I pretty much never do. So it's quite that moment. And, I just really, whenever I talk with Joe, he's always telling me how wonderful you all are, what a wonderful group you are, how happy it is, the different things that you're doing, the pagoda that you're building, the medicine, the pills, the practices that you're doing, how you're all happy. And that's really nice. It's kind of amazing, and so 1,000 times, that's a kind of a holy number. And when you asked me would I come, I just felt, well, of course, I would like to say, congratulations. Congratulations, 20 years. It's a wonderful thing. Just from one word from Rinpoche, and you go 20 years, and may it be another 20 and 20 and 20 and 20, right? It's very beautiful the way you talk about Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, the Guru, the true nature, the liberation that is already present, but maybe not totally accessed yet. And that we do this for all our mothers throughout space. I love it when Rinpoche says that. I love it. There's a very beautiful song. Maybe some of you know, Manam Katanyambe Simchin Tamja. Just, as vast as space are living beings who are my mothers. And I just love it, because just saying that, maybe even just hearing it, the Tibetan practices are so skillful. Just like that, your mind is vast as the sky, without anybody saying you should make your mind as vast as the sky. May all beings throughout space be happy, and may I further their happiness and the causes of happiness, and yay, let's do it. Like you said, tonight. Why not tonight? Why not at any moment? I love that you said that. That's so lovely. We really are incredibly fortunate to have encountered Rinpoche. Those of us who've met him in person, those of us who've met him through Joe, through people who knew him. It just feels like he does transmit something that just kind of comes out of you after that a little bit. They like to say, like not even like the firefly to the sun, but still a little bit of light, just because he's so powerful, comes through. I hope, and I bet you all feel it too. So it's a wonderful thing to come together. We had some wonderful times after that, at least twice, I think, although I mainly remember one time when Rinpoche came to your house. That very house you're still in, is that right?
Yeah, this place.
I've been in that house.
You sure have. You spent the night here. That's right.
With Rinpoche, and with Jitsuma. Jitsuma must have been there.
She was there, yeah.
Yeah, and it was just, well, Joe, he's never-ending enthusiasm, which is just wonderful. And that's how you were when Rinpoche was there, and every time I've ever met you. Of course, all we ever discuss when we connect is something about Rinpoche. But it was just, it was a wonderful moment. I think we had a day or two to be there and to meet some of you at that time. I'm sure he's very happy knowing, and surely knowing, that this is unfolding, and that it's part of his mosaic. This Dzogchen Yintik is a word that's he's wanting to use more and more now. And we're all sisters sanghas, brothers, sisters sanghas, all of us who are Azur Rinpoche sanghas. It's really very beautiful. I mean, as he did with you, Joe, there were a few other people. He said, why don't you, why don't you? And they're still doing it. That's how powerful a moment's request from Rinpoche is. He asked me to translate something. I've been working on this particular thing, I don't know, 12 years or something. Just chug. You can't work it on. So when Rinpoche says something, we really try to do it. because we believe, we know that he knows that something positive is, it's possible for something positive to unfold. And especially, he just looks at us all as, it's kind of what you said, you know, future Buddhas, Buddhas in the making, Buddhas in the blooming. And I don't know if you've heard me tell this story before, and I won't actually tell it, except to say that the very first time I met Rinpoche, which was a great pivotal event in my life, obviously, the Sami Chimpuk on a pilgrimage. It was a pilgrimage that we'd put together to go to the holy places of the Longchen Nyingtik. And then, you know, we met Jigme Lingpa, and it was just it was truly overwhelming, beyond overwhelming. And once, you know, we sort of settled down and he started to see people one by one. He offered immediately to see people one by one. Amazing. There were hundreds, if not 1,000. The monks up in the, you know, or in caves in retreat came down singing. There's a beautiful song, Calling the Lama. Video of it somewhere. They're singing this yearning for the Lama, and others, nuns and others, were camped all around. He was teaching Yeshe Lama to the longtime retreatants. He let me attend one session, and he was teaching Nundro to others. So he was busy, but that's the generosity. He wouldn't miss a chance. There were 10 of us, you know, to spend, to speak to each of us individually. And the first thing he really said was, do you believe that you can become a Buddha in this lifetime? I've been thinking about it ever since. Just finished. That's a really important question. And I love the way you kind of raised it in your own way, you know, at the beginning. Why not tonight? Why not this seat? Why would we think it's far away? And if we do think it's far away, well, we get to look at that, because that's going to be really important for us to understand the ways in which we feel it's far away and how that affects us. So he's, you know, ever since, and then the 2 years later, we were able to, at his request, invite him. And then that started that in 99 and still going. It's amazing. And really, even Rinpoche has remarked, because he kind of knows, you know, somebody, I can't remember, somebody turned up somewhere who hadn't been around for years and years and years. And Rinpoche just kind of, I think it was a few people, somehow, I can't remember who it was. It doesn't matter. It's happened many times. And Rinpoche just kind of looked around, looked at his monks and said, look at these Americans, you know, we haven't met in whatever it was, 10 years at that time, and they're still fire on fire, right? We're still on fire because he's given us fire. So really, I just want to say how wonderful. Keep it going. Any ways that we can help each other, that's great. And two things, you know, the Amitabha Festival is going on right now. And we got some recordings actually from it. A couple of us did, and Erik has translated some of it, and I shared a little bit of it when we did an Amitabha practice recently. I think Stephanie has shared something also. And we're going to do an Amitabha practice on February 5th, Sunday. It's I believe it's the last day of the festival, and you're all invited. And while we chat, I'll put a link up, or else I'll let you know, Joe, and you can let people know.
Please do.
It's just to join in, because there are, I haven't heard a number, I don't know if Erik has, but in past years, there have been tens of thousands, to put it modestly, people gathering for this particular one is 3 weeks. To gather and turn the whole world. It's called the evocation of the Amitabha Pure Land. To make this world a pure land of Amitabha, which means that we are all Amitabhas. And there's a very simple prayer that Rinpoche selected many years ago that we sing with them, because they also use this prayer. And of course, it's like being amplified a million times because of the powerhouse that is going on right now. And Rinpoche has a tremendous connection with Amitabha. He is Amitabha. There's no separation. And maybe you have already heard stories, and I won't go there, but we have heard and seen on video quite a few, can only say miracles, really very extraordinary events, medicine raining down, statues rising out of rock, the scent of incense smelled miles away, for example. I don't know what's happened this year yet. So just to say, you're very welcome. If you have time, I'll tell you the time. It'll be about 1 hour. I think it's at 1 o'clock. I'm not sure, but I'll let you know. And also, Rinpoche has been kind of revving up this Dzogchen Yingtik idea, which he's had from the beginning, for us to really understand ourselves, to be part of a large community. Rinpoche has sanghas if we speak just in the United States, you guys in the middle in Denver, also in Albuquerque, Taramandala, of course, California, here in Houston, New York, Nova's in California, Southern California, small things also going on in Austin. It's called Dzogchen Yingtik. And we invite you, Tukoroso Dorji had the idea, and we want to together offer, get together to, Rinpoche's birthday is March 5th, which is the full moon of the Losar New Year. And so he had the idea that we all come together and do the vine, the precious vine, long life prayer for Rinpoche. And I don't think we figured out, it'll be on March 5th. I don't know the time right now, but please get revved up. And Joe, please, I'll keep, you'll get a message once we totally settle it, and a link. And I just really hope that you all can come, and we will all sing together and pray for Rinpoche and the success of all of our, sanghas. So.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Anne. Really appreciate it. And I didn't say this in the beginning, but it's really Anne personally who is the reason that Rinpoche has connected with us. If she hadn't met him in Tibet and hadn't been open and willing and the amazing Dakini that she is, then Rinpoche probably wouldn't have come to America in the same way. He wouldn't have come to this house. He wouldn't have blessed all of us, and it would be a very different life. So thank you personally for that, Anne. And thanks for being here tonight. Really appreciate it. Very kind.
Thank you.
One question, I want to ask one question. Any word now that China's opening up a little bit after COVID about Rinpoche coming here? Any chance?
Oh, we have to say and feel and hope that there's a chance.
Okay.
But I haven't heard anything that suggests to me it's tonight.
Okay. Well, I don't think he could be here any more than he is tonight anyway. So thank you. Thank you very much for taking time out of your schedule to be here. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Pleasure. I hope you come back sometime.
Well, thank you.
Oh, that was very kind. Yeah, I've had a lot of amazing experiences thanks to Anne. So I'm very grateful that she would be willing to be here. We have a couple other speakers. So I'm going to turn this over to my personal friend, Ian Baker. It's not just Ian Baker, it's Dr. Ian Baker now. And he is a true bodhisattva. He is someone who's in his own magical way, spreading the light of Tantrism all around the world through books, through lectures, through trips like the one that I was so fortunate to go on to Bhutan earlier this year. And just through his amazing excellence. And I really feel grateful to him. We've had quite a few adventures together, and I hope to have more. And it was very nice of him to make time in his busy schedule to join us tonight. So I asked him to just give a little pep talk to us, and I'm going to turn it over to you, Ian. Thanks for being here. Very grateful.
Well, thank you for inviting me. And I'm not sure I'm going to be able to give a pep talk at this point, but I'm very grateful to be here and actually to experience, at least in this virtual way, your Sangha that I've been hearing about for so many years, and which you've shared with me so many aspects of. And so it's actually really, for me, a great privilege to be able to witness that in this celebratory moment, and also to meet some people like Anne, who I've not met in person, but very grateful to be doing so now in this context. And then, of course, your brother John here as well, and Jumpa Stewart and others who, I've either crossed paths with or I haven't. But so anyway, I'm just very happy really to be here and to help celebrate what has been, obviously, now that I've gotten the deeper backstory about how all this came together, and all of the kind of intersections that I remember actually when Adzam Rinpoche first came, and I was with Lama Sutra Malioni at that time, and she was saying, I was up at Taramandala at her house, and she said, you must come back. Adzam Rinpoche's coming here, and I was living in Kathmandu at that time, so it wasn't possible. But so I've never had the great fortune to meet with him, but there was this sort of near meeting that happened as a result, since I was made aware, I think before it was even formally announced that that was going to be something happening. So it's wonderful to hear the stories that you've shared over the years, and that Anne Klein has just shared with us now, and about the great inspiration and the mandate you were given to put this Sangha together. So really, for me, it's just, rather than saying anything about any specific topic of Dharma, I think it's really what I would really like to celebrate here is just the various ways in which we've intersected over the years, and which in a sense is exactly how I feel Dharma is a living experience in the world. I think we first probably met each other on a walk down from Nagi Gompa after seeing Tulpurigan years ago, and we intersected on a sort of magical walk down towards Bodha. And then I think it was years later where you appeared with your brother John, and we met at the Monsoon Restaurant in Rangoon for a magical week of adventures in Burmese alchemy, meeting with various Buddhist adepts and mercury drinkers. So, again, sort of magical mystery tour that's sort of taken us in different contexts from the Tibetan world to the Burmese world. And then I think, and then staying with you up in Denver, and then our encounter, and then another encounter in Amsterdam, and then Thailand. And then, of course, as you just mentioned, most recently in the context of this Vajrayana Buddhism conference, which you also spoke at, and the kind of wonderful adventures that were built around that. So for me, that's what I've experienced about your world, this great diversity and openness and excitement, and the enthusiasm that you bring to making Dharma a living experience for people through the diversity and enthusiasm that you have in a variety of interests, and left field books, whether it's Borges, and labyrinths. And it's a wonderful for me to have seen how you've actually made Dharma in this community a living experience through relating it to different, to poets and to various other, was it the Morning of the Magicians, all kinds of sort of wonderful, tangential, but obviously deeply resonant. And that came to mind, I think, when Anne Klein was just talking about, our nature of our minds in the sky. And I think one time we spoke about Emily Dickinson's poetry, and one of her poems, which is entitled, My Mind is Wider Than the Sky. And so this is what's why I think so wonderful, is to be able to see these essentially upadeshas and aphorisms that come sometimes in the most unexpected of places. And another, in that context, to dwell in possibility, which of course is another one of those wonderful lines from her poetry, and then things that I think resonate for us, in the West, and that we can see such deep parallels with in the Tibetan tradition that we're all practicing within. So I think that's something I think we've shared. I think, shared that when you shared with me your book of poems, for which you forced me into writing an introduction on haiku, which was wonderful for me because I learned a lot about, the art of haiku and the process of doing that. So, and I think that's the beauty of it, bringing attention to our everyday experience, and finding in those unexpected moments the gift of just what attention yields, and all of the kind of hidden aspects, if you will, of our existence. It's suddenly come to the forefront when we kind of give it that kind of compassionate attention that the Dharma teaches us to do with everything that arises. even when it might seem to be something from completely different. So really, that's all I wanted to share in, or feel that I think is appropriate to share perhaps in this context. But unless there was something that, because you suggested that, oh, it could just be questions and answers, but if there was something that anybody was interested in that I might have some perspective on, I'd be very happy to address that. But otherwise, I'm very excited to hear what other people have to say. And again, I really just wanted to celebrate my friendship with you and my knowing of you and the wonderful intersections over the years that has led to, and all the adventures that are still in wait.
Thank you, Ian. Very kind of you to be here, and nice of you to say that. Yeah, Ian and I have been friends since that walk down from Nagi Gompa in that must have been 1995. That's a long time ago. And since then, we've been running around like DNA, running across each other. We might even see each other next month in Thailand. You never know. Does anybody have a question for Ian? It's a rare opportunity to have captured him for a few minutes. And if you'd like to ask something, you're certainly welcome. I don't know if you can see these questions, so I'll just, okay.
Yeah, somebody's asking, hold on, I see part of it. If I'm asking on another book now. Yeah, not exactly, but there are some possibilities in the works. But yeah, after the Tibetan Yoga Principles and Practices book, I think the next one is actually beginning to address what I think, if any of you are familiar with that book, what I tried to do was to kind of bring a kind of cross-cultural perspective to the 6 yogas in particular, and particularly to the embodied physical practices. That's actually how it started in the Tantric Buddhist tradition. But then looking in particular at the 6 yogas, but looking at them perhaps from a kind of more diverse perspective than they've been perhaps addressed before in either an academic or a popular context. So I'm still very, very interested in that, and looking at the common ground between what we see at the heart of the Vajrayana tradition and what we see even before perhaps it went through its Tibetan iteration, crossing the Himalayas. So I'm very interested in the early sources of Vajrayana, and also the kind of cross-cultural contact that had along the Silk Road, perhaps. If we think of Udayana in the foothills of the Hindu Kush as being the place, the geographical locus of where Vajrayana, one of the locuses in which it emerged, of course, Bengal as well, then it's very interesting when we look at the early Greek presences there, the presences of a Dionysian cult in Swat Valley, even at the time that Alexander went there. So I'm more and more interested in what's still sort of hidden in those exchanges, deep exchanges of mystery traditions, if you will, between the ancient Aegean world and the Western world, essentially, and the Indic world of the Indo-Tibetan traditions. I think that might help over time, when more comes to light with that, to understand really on a deeper level the role of the archetypes, the role of the creation phases and the completion phase practices, and really the mystery that lies even beyond wisdom. So that's, if there's a book emerging, that's at least what I'm thinking about. And just in that context, I maybe mentioned that Dr. Nida Chanangsang and I are, share that interest, because of course he lives south of Rome, between Rome and Pompeii. So this is a place that sort of interests him because of what he sees, emerging from really the archaeological records of Pompeii, in particular now with his interest in Karma Mudra. But he and I will be leading a 2-week trip in Greece at the end of May. And if anybody was interested in that, it's going to be basically a Chulen retreat, but it is actually also a pilgrimage, and it will end in Delphi. And it is particularly looking at some of the common ground between the Tantric Buddhist traditions and the mystery traditions of Greece. So it's kind of an exploratory trip in that way, but it will also be one very much working with the Chulen tradition and its overlap with the elixir traditions of Greek medicine.
Fascinating. I can say that any trip Ian runs is definitely worth going on. I mean, We had an amazing time in Bhutan on many different levels, and I'm sure the Greek trip will be incredible too. How do people get information about this trip if they were interested?
Yeah, I would say, and that's also relates to, the question about a book, as Dr. Nita and I had sort of, after our experience with the Vajrayana conference in Bhutan and with the conference tour that we organized, which Joe was instrumental in for those 2 weeks, he initiated, actually said, let's do something that's called the Vajra Path, which begins to look at how Vajrayana can actually manifest in dialogue with contemporary culture, with Western culture. Of course, this is already ongoing, but this is a way of very consciously making that, as it were, the intention. So we've just finished the first inaugural retreat of the Vajra Path, which was with Tsering Chudin, who's a yogini from Bhutan, who just offered a five wisdom dakini retreat based upon 2 texts of Jamyang Kongtrul Rinpoche that were kind of brought together by Jamyang Kongtrul himself. And it's a very powerful tradition, practice working with the 5 wisdom dakinis. We just finished that. She will, however, be continuing that every Saturday now, bringing people through the practice. We just did the translation of the text, and it was very interesting because, so that's going to be ongoing. And there's now a Facebook page just called the Vajra Path, and there's also an Instagram account called the Vajra Path. So as these trips and online retreats and opportunities become available, we'll be posting them there. So if anybody is interested in finding out more about the trip in Greece, which is called Eros, Ecstasy, and Elixirs, or Eros, Ecstasy, and Gnosis, they can simply write to the Vajra Path at gmail.com. And either Dr. Nita, myself, or Ava Brennan, who's our kind of coordinator, will respond, and we can provide you with more information about that trip, as well as about another trip called that will happen in Bhutan in October, called Blazing Wisdom, Awakening Pristine Joy, which is actually going to be focusing on kind of the four joys, which are, of course, the takeaway from the completion stage practices of Tumo and Karma Mudra. So that's what Dr. Nita had said he would like to focus on a pilgrimage and retreat in central Bhutan, particularly in the Tang Valley, and particularly in a sub-valley of the Tang Valley called Kandraling, the valley of the Dakinis, the place of the Dakinis. So if people are interested in either of those 2 trips, they're more than welcome to write to us, and we'll give you more information. And
there you go. Wonderful.
Yeah.
So the first one's in May and the other one's in October. Am I right?
Yeah, the first one's in May, from May 22nd to the 31st, and that will be starting. That's round trip from Athens. We go up to Tsumerka, Meteora, and it ends in Delphi, at the wonderful, and then the caves above Delphi are less known, but they're connected more with the Dionysian and Corsican nymph, or there was an oracular cave there connected even with Pan. So so we will be doing practices in those places. And as I said, it's very much based on a Chulen transmission as well. So I'll be meeting with Dr. Nita first in Italy, and the 3 of us will be traveling over to Greece, carrying a lot of Chulen with us, because he said, if I carry it all, he said he's concerned if he carries it all, he'll have trouble at customs in Athens. So he said, you have to come here first, and we'll carry it all with us. So it'll be, I think, it basically takes its inspiration, and that was really his thought, is that, as we know, above the temple of Apollo at Delphi is part of it says, know thyself. And so the know thyself is also, of course, very fundamental, not only to Dharma, to knowing our own original nature, but it's also fundamental to the Tibetan medical tradition, because it's the whole idea of the diagnosis is to actually know our own condition, and to know how practice also has to be sometimes as individuated as medicine does. And so that's certainly the orientation that he wants to bring to this tradition in Greece, which will begin with that sense of looking at how we come into Dharma and where our particular needs are, and so that will be kind of the adventure, as it were, of going through the Chulen practices, connected in particular, this case, with the 5 elements. And at the same time with the archetypes as they manifest for us at some of these ancient sites.
Wow, that sounds amazing. So yeah, the Vajrapath at Gmail will get you more information, or you can find them on Facebook. Thank you very much. That sounds exciting and super cool. And Dr. Need is an amazing guy too. So yeah, if anybody's interested, we can talk more about that if you have questions, and I'm sure we can put you directly in touch with Ian if you have questions for him. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, man. Really appreciate it for being here and taking time to bless our little group with your presence. Thank you.
Well, thank you for inviting me into the Sangha. So
Pleasure. You're welcome anytime. We're sitting every Tuesday. We got 1,000 times behind us and hopefully another 1,000 in front. If we could pull that off, that'd be hilarious. Joe will be an old man by then. That sounds hilarious. So anyway, thank you very much. Appreciate it very, very
Pleasure.
deeply.
Pleasure.
Yeah, I want to just say that if you do have a chance to go on one of these trips that Ian organizes, is for sure worth it. I had a really mind-blowing time in Bhutan, and that was because of Ian's great knowledge about how to organize groups and how to bring people together in a way that everybody gets to shine. It was really fun, and it was also very moving in a deep way. So I am personally grateful to Ian on many fronts, and hopefully we'll have him back here. And maybe we'll meet you in one of these excellent places you're going to be. So thank you. Wow, we've even got one more person. Can you believe that? Thank you for posting that. And next up is, I don't even know how to introduce this guy. He's so unique, is Erik Drew. You hear, if you're part of our group, then you hear me quote Erik and talk about Erik all the time because he's an accomplished practitioner. That's all we can say. He also, I had the incredible good fortune to spend more than a month with him in China and then in Kham a few years ago. And during that time, he was very generous in telling Mona and I most of his life story. And his life story is film worthy. I don't know what to say. The most interesting life story of anyone I've ever even heard of, much less heard directly from the participant. He has been involved in the Dharma since he was a young boy, and what can I say? He's living. Yeah, thanks, Anne. Thank you for being here. Be well. He's amazing. Erik's amazing. He's a real yogi, and I'm impressed and pleased and grateful that he was willing to be here. So without attempting to embarrass him any further, I will turn it over to you. And Erik, if you want to turn on your camera and you have that ability, you're certainly welcome. And if not, that is
I don't have enough bandwidth.
Okay, no problem, but the floor is yours.
I'm here in the county jail in Mobile, Alabama. Joe, can you give me bail? Just joking. I know, that's wonderful. Tashi Delik, Tashi Delik, Tashi Delik. See, you get the triple Tashi Delik. Why? 1,000 times. Wow. See, that's 1,000 Buddhas of the fortunate Aeon, the Bhadrakalpa. That's amazing. See, it's all about the auspiciousness. Why is it auspicious? So many reasons. The guru who ignited all of it, that's so auspicious at the beginning. You see, the recipient ignited that, also auspicious. You see, devoted. You see, it's all auspicious, Hashidelic. It's the chain reaction of loving interdependence. You see, it's ongoing. See, so it's tashidelic, yes. It's auspicious. It's delicious. See, it's multicolored. It's sparkling, chashi, many colors. It's like the full spectrum of all those delicious colors magnetize us. Well, they're all flashing. That's tashi. That means the interdependence is hot and really clean, and it's working, and we're feeling fresh and inspired. You see, so it's tashidelic. See, after 1,000 times, it didn't become tedious and sort of morbid and you're sort of just stuck there. No, it became more of the good qualities flourishing. See, tashidelic, more love, more devotion. So it's all tashidelic. Yeah, tashidelic chain reactions. Why do we repeat them? Because it's tashidelic chain reactions. It goes deeper, it gets better, wider, more loving, more insightful, more sparkly, more inspired. Yeah, more bindu happening. You know, more juicy, more ras, a lot more ras happening. So it's celebration. Actually, after 1,000, it's always a celebration. No sermon, just a celebration. Because it's wonderful. Wonderful guru, wonderful sangha, wonderful blossoming of the internal bodhicitta. Fantastic. See, nobody ever regrets turning in, right? Nangba, Buddhists actually don't use that word. It's going in. Nangba means insider, going in, right? So going in to your potential, nobody ever regrets that. It's only auspicious. So the more you do that, the more auspicious. And that's why this is a celebration, isn't it? Celebrating Joe. Yes. Here's to Joe. Wait a sec. I need to grab my, thank you. Cheers. The lineage, right? Say cheers, one of the lineage. I drink. Here's the cheers to Jimmy Lingpa. And I'd like to make a toast to his successor. The Fantastic Three. Oh, this is going to be a double here. Okay. That's what the Sangha is all about. Celebrating the guru and the lineage holders and the recipients. See, we're all the recipients of this wonderful feast of Dharma. That's what we're celebrating in all its funky forms. We're celebrating the Dharma. Yeah, motivated by this incredible bodhicitta, you know. By the way, it's the season of bodhicitta, just like Lama Ann was just telling us about Rinpoche, you know, our precious guru. At this moment, on fire. It's the season of love. It's Amitabha season. Miracles happen this time. 1 year there was flowers growing in frozen trees that don't have flowers in the middle of winter, that kind of thing. Amazing things. So they're on fire, and that's the season right now. So that's what's happening. And that's all part of the celebration. See, we're celebrating that. Dechin Barwa, great blazing bliss. This is a very important feature, actually, of the Usal Nyingtik, especially the Nyingtik, is this whole Dechin Barwa, great blazing bliss. Actually, it's a unique feature. I've only actually ever heard this from Adzam Pelo Rinpoche. Is this emphasis on the deity is powered up by Dechin Barwa, great blazing bliss. Your activities are powered up by great blazing bliss. Typically, when he starts a journey on a car going somewhere, the Rinpoche and Jetsuma will sing Dechin Barwa. That's the first thing they'll sing. You see, to invoke that blissful, it's a joyous thing. It's a celebratory. Where there's love and joy, you've got maximum power. Then you've got maximum interest. You got maximum engagement. What you love, you're intoxicated by, you see? And if you love it, you're going to become one with it. So Dechin Barwa is the preeminent, the most spectacular way to enhance everything. That's why we have celebration. That's why this is a celebration. We're celebrating exactly that. You see, the flourishing, the blossoming of bodhicitta, Dechin Barwa, great bliss. If you observe, you're not the same person you were years ago. If you scrutinize it, you'll see the effect of Dharma, touching in 24/7, having that permeate your life. The nectar of the Dharma, there's a change, you see, and we celebrate that. Yeah, another toast. 1,000 times. Nobody sued anybody. Nobody got excommunicated. Okay, just joking. No confessions were put online.
Thank you, Erik. Thank you very much. Appreciate you taking time out of Erik's on retreat right now. And he's not actually in jail at this moment. He is on retreat.
No, I'm in the jail of samsara, man. And Joe, that's why I'm here. I'm in the jail of samsara.
I have a feeling Erik is the jailer of samsara, not in jail himself. If anyone, since you have a captive audience,
You're my only hope.
If you have any questions you'd like to ask Erik, now is very much the time. I will
ask questions, please, because I don't even have a one-man sangha here. It's just me. It's like the one-man sangha. I'm part of Kunzang Ling. That's the Hawaii branch of Dzogchen Yingtik. It's the Hawaii branch. And actually, our precious Rinpoche named it Kunzang Ling.
Kunzang Ling. There you go.
Kunzang Ling. Yeah, Kunzang means all good.
It's all good.
So it's all actually ASEAN, Tuku ASEAN and I are the only ones who represent it really here. Yeah. And we have a joke with amongst ourselves about that. It's like Kunzang, all good. Oh yeah, it's all good, No board meetings, no overhead, no problems. It's all good. Kunzang Ling, okay? Welcome to Kunzang Ling.
Perfect.
No problem. It's paradise here. It really is. You should come sometime and do retreat. It's a perfect place to do Dzogchen.
There you go. You're all invited to descend upon Erik.
Oh no, it's good. It's all good. You can go anywhere. It's all good.
Well, in spite of a little bit of a disrupted connection at times, we got to be blessed by Erik being here. Thank you so much, Erik, for taking time to join us.
Come forward. Everyone can join in. Nobody can get dismembered. Or lose their membership.
Or
it's for life. Don't worry.
So if you wish to flesh out the Sangha by 50%, then all you have to do is descend upon the big island, and you will be in the Sangha of Erik and ASEAN, two amazing beings. If anybody has a question, here comes a question, Erik. I'm going to read it. What advice do you have for a relative newbie Dzogchen practitioner going into a 1-week solo retreat? Would you like to answer that question, Erik, or anything?
Look at the sky and ask, who am I?
There you go, Dan. Better write those instructions down. It's a combo Dzogchen Ramana Maharishi retreat that Erik is recommending. Anything else, Erik, on that front for Dan or for any of us who are going to enter into a small retreat?
Total devotion will melt you down into the ocean of your true nature, which is shared by all.
There you go. Some pith instructions. Since we got him on the line, anybody else? Any other questions? All right. Erik, thank you very much. I'm putting my palms together. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
Very grateful to have you here. Erik has really been a guiding light in my life for many, many years. I've known him forever. And not only through Anzum Rinpoche's Sangha, but also Gangchen Rinpoche's Sangha and many other teachers who he has so incredibly brilliantly translated for. time after time. So thank you, Erik. Please drop in on us again anytime you wish. You are
Time
always
after
welcome.
time.
You are more than welcome. Well, thank you.
Time after time. Thank you. The clock is ticking. Dzogchen Barwa, everybody. Great blazing bliss.
There you go. Great blazing bliss. And here was an example of great blazing bliss coming right from Erik in Hawaii for you guys. So see, there you go. Thank you, Erik, very much. Let's see.
That's because I'm a bodhicitta ho, yo.
Okay. Now we have a couple people who are here in the very, very early days of this Chuniling Denver Dzogchen group. And when this group first started, I got called back in, and as I said, and Rinpoche forced me to do this, and I was trying to figure out how to get out of it. I left that room, I went into the bathroom, and I was thinking to myself, how can I not do this? I don't want to do this. This sounds terrifying. And at the same time felt that there was probably no choice in it. So I was kind of struggling like this. And my idea was, if I just didn't say anything, then maybe it would just pass and it wouldn't occur. So I left the bathroom, and who was just coming out of the room, having just seen Rinpoche, but Tom Nelson, who you guys know as the full Tom Nelson. And Tom said, "Hey, are you Joe Wagner?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "I hear we're starting a Sangha in Denver," which was the real beginning. And it's because of Tom that this group got actually going so quickly. And so I asked Tom if he wouldn't mind saying something. And if he is willing, then I'm going to turn it over to Tom to just say hello to us, since we never get to hear from the full Tom Nelson. Tom?
Joe, I just want to say how grateful I am that you did what you were asked to do, and you led this group, you're leading this group, and created the Sangha. You are the most intrepid person that I know in terms of seeking out greatest masters and receiving teachings. And I appreciate your generosity in teaching what you've learned from all these teachers. So just want to say thank you very much. You're a great bodhisattva.
No, you're very kind. And although I'm far from being a bodhisattva, I do love you and the rest of the members of our group. So thank you, Tom, for being here and for being here all these years. Tom is, talk about intrepid. Tom is an amazing dude, and we're lucky to have him in our Sangha. I mean, one of the Trilcore exercises that we perform is named after him. I mean, what could be more auspicious than that? Thank you, Tom.
That was thanks to Karen.
That's true. Actually, Karen, you want to say something? Because Karen just announced to me this evening that she has been in our group for 15 years. That's a long time. And Karen, would you like to say anything?
Well, I think I'm being put on the spot here, but I'll just say something that it's been I don't know, just a true inspiration to be part of this group for 15 years. I walked into it having no idea what I was getting into. And I just thought, oh, it's just going to be this little meditation group, and not knowing that, oh, I'm going to end up being a Buddhist. What the hell? I hadn't planned on that. But anyway, it's been just, I don't know, inspirational, a pleasure, it's changed my life. It's been great getting to know the other members of the group, and seeing people come in and out of this group. I was thinking today about who was there. I know Keith was there when I first started, and I thought I saw Josh here earlier, and Jay, and just, I mean, it's just been really like, it has changed my life. And I thank you very much for this. Thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you, Karen. That's very kind. It's, yeah, Karen she says it true. We're all in the process of changing as a result of the blessings of the Dharma, and specifically the blessings of Anzum Rinpoche, which is pretty darn cool. I don't want to put anybody else on the spot. Keith was here in the very beginning. Keith, you want to say something? You're certainly welcome. No pressure, because we never get to see you. I don't want you to feel like you have to do something and then you never come back. But please, if you'd like to, I'd love it.
I don't mind. I don't mind at all.
Cool.
First, it's nice to see all the familiar faces that I haven't seen in a long time. You all know who you are. Tom, Karen, Michael, of course, Joe. Yeah, myself, I had no idea that I would become a Buddhist after walking into that open house in 1999 and meeting Joe Wagner. And I'm grateful for his introduction to Azam Rinpoche and all his encouragement in my meditation practice and all those things. And it's really fortunate that we all, I think, have this place, you know, and that we all have come to know Mr. Wagner. That's all I got, I guess.
Wow, thank you. Well, it's so nice to see you, and you're looking good with the gunfighter. I like the gunfighter look going on. That's good. Keith has a few years ago moved down to Colorado Springs, so I don't get to see him in person as much as I used to, but it's a pleasure tonight. And he just sent me a message, I don't know, a month or two ago saying, I'm still practicing all the time. So it made me really happy. And so keep it up, Keith, and keep it up, all of you guys.
Yeah.
I chatted with Jampa, and I thought maybe Jampa would say something, since we met actually at an Azam Rinpoche retreat, and that must have been about 2003, 2004, something like that. It was a long time ago. So Jampa, any chance you would say something?
Yeah, I mean, gosh, I've got a few tough acts to follow. I was just remembering something triggered it. We were just talking about where back in 1974, it was in the fall, and I was closing my bookshop. I owned a bookshop, and I had to close it, and I had to be out of the bookshop by the morning. It was the last day of the month, and I had a couple of friends helping me load these boxes of books up from the basement, the dusty basement. And I met this one guy. He looked like Allen Ginsberg, you know, with hair coming out in every direction. And halfway up the stairs, he turned to me, he looked at me, and he said, I can't wait till the last son of a bitch gets enlightened so I can get the hell out of here. I thought, wow, that's one of the most honest expressions of the Bodhisattva vow that I've ever heard. It's tiring. When you think about it, all sentient beings, how many lifetimes do we need to come back to do that? It can be a little disheartening to do that, you know, to keep up that enthusiasm. Oh boy. And so I'm just really grateful. I'm so grateful to you, Joe, for your boundless, endless enthusiasm for the Dharma. You inspire me and re-inspire me and re-inspire me. I met Joe, I think it was in 2003. It was at a POA retreat at the Margaret Austin Center, arranged by Anne Klein and Dawn Mountain. And I'd had an amazing it was my first retreat with Azam Rinpoche. I'd had an amazing Semtree interview with him. When I walked in the room, he said something, and Anne translated, and he said, oh, you and I have known each other for many lifetimes.
Wow.
What? And I don't know what to say. And when we walked out, I walked out with Anne, and I said, does he say that to all the boys? And she said, no, I've never heard him say that before. And so I've been pondering it ever since, wondering, how is it possible? How is it possible that I'm so still so far along from attaining the highest level? If that were the case, I must have done something really terrible along the way, and I'm still trying to account for it. But during that retreat, we were staying in shared rooms halfway between Austin and Houston in Chapel Hill, Texas. And Adzam Rinpoche had told us that we needed to not talk after dinner. And so we're supposed to be quiet. And I'm in the room with 3 other guys. And suddenly in the evening, this latecomer arrives. Yakety yak, yak, yak. Everybody knows him. Everybody wants to talk to him, talking a mile a minute. And me, being my officious self, said, Rinpoche has told us that we're supposed to be quiet tonight, no talking. And Joe said, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And so I was on a bottom bunk. Joe ended up on a top bunk. And in the morning, when the morning alarm woke everybody up, I sat up and I looked up, and there was Joe sitting up in his bed. I don't remember if you were in the Rishi posture or what posture you were in, but you were meditating in the morning, first thing. And I thought, wow, this guy's he's really serious. And we met, talked more during the day. Joe was making tea for everybody. Joe, as you know him well, you know he loves tea. And I am a big fan of tea as well. So we started talking about tea, and we bonded there. We've been bonded ever since. And Joe came down to Austin several times for various conferences. He visited me several times. He stayed at my place. I invited him to speak on Douglas Harding's On Having No Head at my place. And his pointing out instructions are as powerful as any Lama that I've ever heard. And for me personally, and I've mentioned this to Joe, that it's that deep enthusiasm and that strong encouragement that he has strikes me to the core each time he introduces a new practice. It's total sincerity and it's total depth, and really as strong as any Lama that I've studied with, really. Joe is a great Lama. He's a great teacher as well, you know, and we're all fortunate to study with him. We're also connected through, as you mentioned, Joe, we're also connected through Gangteng Rinpoche. We've gone through retreats with Gangteng together and separately too. It's just, don't know what else to say except for that practicing the Dharma is challenging. It's not easy. In Bhutan, and Joe was the one who introduced to me the idea of this retreat that was happening in Bhutan, and I was fortunately able to go, so we got to experience that together. That was because of Joe's inspiration, and very, very powerful, very, very powerful time. And Joe gave a wonderful, wonderful talk at the Vajrayana conference. And there's something else that I was going to say, Joe, but I'm just really grateful to know you. You're one of my best friends in the world. You're my constant encouragement in the Dharma. We're all fortunate for your efforts, for your continued effort. It's not easy. Every week, 1,000 times over 20 years, 1,000 meetings. It's just amazing. It's just incredible. So I'll just say thank you. Thank you, Joseph Wagner. Thank you for feeding and strengthening and keeping this group alive and being an inspiration to all of us in terms of our possibilities of attaining Buddhahood. Thank you.
Well, you're welcome, but this is accidentally turning into talk about Joe Wagner night, which is not what the purpose is, but thank you so much, Jompa.
Well, I wanted to say one other thing.
Sure.
I remembered. I was going to see Adzam Rinpoche for Sumtree, and you said, when you see Adzam Rinpoche, tell him, make my mind inseparable from yours. So I had my interview with Adzam Rinpoche, and at the end I said, Rinpoche, make my mind inseparable with yours. And he smiled at me and he said, if you have faith, you can do this. So again, thank you for that gift from Rinpoche.
You're very welcome. Jampa's been practicing the Dharma, he told me last night. Was it 1968 that you got involved?
Yeah.
1968. I myself was born in 1969. So Jampa is one of our senior members, and we're grateful to have him here. He's not just a master of Buddhist practices, but also a real Taoist teacher and an expert at Tai Chi also. So thank you for being here, Jampa. I really appreciate it. And those are very kind things to say. And we are very fortunate to share not only Anzum Rinpoche's Sangha, but also Gangchen Rinpoche's instructions together. We've received a lot of teachings together. That's really cool. So thank you for being here, and thank you for saying something. If anybody else would like to say something, I hate to call on you. So if there's anyone who would like to share, you're certainly more than welcome, more than welcome. But certainly nobody needs to. We have all kinds of people in our Sangha. And the thing that brings us together is a mutual distaste for samsara, a shared vow to help all beings and to take them as far as we can, and a love of the Dharma. And that is the thing that really matters. I was thinking about this last night, and it occurred to me that, like I often say, we have to be sort of open to the possibility of attaining enlightenment anytime. Since enlightenment is our own true nature, and it's always here with us, it could blossom fully at any moment. But in the meantime, how we spend our time really does matter. It's necessary to be enthusiastic, to stay focused. The road is long. For most of us, it's more than one lifetime, right? Now, is it possible to attain enlightenment in this lifetime? Yes. Is it possible to attain enlightenment at the time of our death or in the bardo? Yes. Can we go to Amitabha's pure realm? Yes, we can. Absolutely. But it's the reorientation toward that goal every day that really makes you a practitioner. And so I am so grateful to so many of you for doing this much longer than I have, much longer than being part of our little group. You're just, this is just one of the aspects of the Dharma in your lives. But I am so pleased that you are all on this path. And I'm grateful that I get to be on this path with you and, in a sense, for you. It is much harder to do it completely on your own without any support. That's why Sangha is one of the three jewels. We take refuge in the Buddha, we take refuge in the Dharma, but we don't stop there. We take refuge in the Sangha. And you guys are my Sangha. You guys are the support for me to carry out my vow to Anzum Rinpoche to share the Dharma. And if it wasn't for you, who would I share it with? I'd be just talking to myself or talking to this super cool hat that Karen made for me. And that would make me into a nutball. So instead, I get to talk to you guys, which is so wonderful. It makes me so happy and grateful. So I'm throwing it out there if anybody else wants to say anything. Okay, you certainly don't need to.
Well, getting to the number 1,000, you see, that represents a kind of a completion. World 1,000, that's a complete cycle. That represents a certain fulfillment. You see, and so
sure,
being a fulfillment means and implies that one arrives at the essential point finally. That one calls the essence of the Dharma after 1,000 meetings. One calls the essence of the Dharma, which is what? Is tattva. You see, suchness, dekona, suchness as it is. So one arrives at the pinnacle of all the yanas, which is Ati Yoga. Ati Yoga has one single concern, has one single focus, one single samaya. And that is intrinsic awareness, rikpa. That's all. You see, that's what one arrives at. There's no more techniques, no more strategies, no more methodologies. Then no more time either. One puts aside time even. You see, there's only one point left. Suchness as it is. You see, that's what you comment. That's the culminate. That's the yingtik. That's the Dzogchen yingtik. That's the exact point right there. On the spot. On the spot means in terms of time and space and actuality, it means that singularity of the present moment, which is complete in itself because this single moment contains all the universes. Therefore, it's the great completion. You see, so the ultimate point that you arrive at is remain simply in that without any kind of strategy, contrivance, time strategy, good or bad, nothing. Dispense with all of it. That's the final point of that. Tashidelik, Tashidelik, Tashidelik. You know, I got a prank call from Adzam Rinpoche, actually. It was very funny. I flew in from Chengdu to Denver just before I met you, Joe, a couple of years ago. Like, I think it was 2018. You know, I flew in. I got this prank call at Denver airport. Rinpoche called my number and he only said three things. He said, Tashidelik, 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 ha ha, and he hung up. He just hung up. He just hung up.
That's so awesome.
So Tashidelik, Tashidelik, Tashidelik.
That's awesome. Thank you, Erik. Wow, we even got a teaching from Erik. That's excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Erik. And that really is the point. I felt when Adzam Rinpoche asked me to do this, I was thinking about, well, what do I know about? Well, I hardly know about anything, but I did receive something from Tulku Urgyen that I'm trying to keep alive. And it's just what Erik's talking about. And now all of you who are part of our group have also received that through the blessings of all the great lineage masters and just by being part of this group. So do what Erik says and don't be apart from that. Keep it extremely simple. Bring your Rigpa to the fore and live in that presence all the time. That's the whole purpose of this. And that is the actual path, that is the goal, and it is also the fruition. So we get to do them all together, which makes our path simple and very powerful. So I think with that, we should probably sign off unless anybody else wants to say anything. It is my incredibly great pleasure to be part of this group and to be allowed to shoot my mouth off every week. And thank you so much for being part of it. And those of you who we haven't seen for a while, please come back. Please come back. It is, it happens every week, as you know, and it's even going to happen when I'm on my little trip because the time change, I think, will allow that no problem. So, so please tune in as often as you can. And in the meantime, stay psyched. You know, the world's a dark place and we are the lamps burning for all beings. So please keep that burning going and I will do my best to do it as well. And thank you, Anne, and thank you, Ian, and thank you, Erik, for being here. I'm so incredibly grateful that you guys would take the time. And thanks to all of you for being practitioners. That's what really matters in this world. So let's rest in the view a moment and then we'll dedicate the merit. And then we will move on to 1001 visits next week. So let be. By this merit, may all attain omniscience, having defeated the enemy, wrongdoing, from the stormy waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death, from the ocean of samsara, may I free all beings. Super killer.
Yeah, watch out for 1001 Vajra volcano eruption. Woo-wee.
Thank you so much, everybody, especially Ian and Erik and Anne for being here, special guests. Please come back again anytime. And those of you who need Vajra recharge, Hawaii's not that far away. I guarantee your life will change. Be well, everybody. Thank you so much. And I will see you next week. And if you, in the meantime, please.
Delek.
And Tashi Delek, Tashi Delek, Tashi Delek. Woo! We did it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Be well,
Thank you.
everyone. Lots of
Thank
love.
you.
Lots of love. Lots of love. Good
Thanks,
night,
Joe.
everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim, for being here. Good to see you. Good
Yep.
to see all of you.
Great.
So happy.
You know, it's very liberating trying to do that, you know. Delek 3 times and then you hang up suddenly. It's kind of exhilarating. I know why he did it. It was rather kinky of the guru to do that.
And one other thing, Ashley has requested that give the lung for the Barchi Kunsal Nundro next week, so we will do that. So any of you who need that or want that, that will occur. And that's the main beginner Nundro for the Choling Tersar of the sort of lineage of Tulku Origin. So that will happen next week if you wish to be there. And feel free to tell anyone else or whatever. So with that, adieu, adieu, adieu. And thank you, Eric and Ian, especially, and all of you, equal thanks for being part of this
Thank
group.
you.
Love to all of you. Be well,
Thank you.
everyone.
Okay.
Thank you
Thanks.
so
Thank
much.
you, Eric.
Good night, everyone.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Thank you, everybody.
Ian. Thank you, Eric.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. So grateful.
For conferring some dignity.
Be well, everyone. Eric, be well.
Eric.
All of you, lots of love. Thank you for everything. Good night and stay with it. Stay with it.
All my
Bye-bye.
best to Anne, Lama Anne. Thank you for showing up. Thank you.
Yeah, that was cool, man.
Wonderful, wonderful teaching.
Yeah.
Good to hear
Thank
your
you,
voice,
Eric.
Good to hear your
Tashi
voice.
Dele, Eric.
Tashi Delek, Tashi Delek.